cover the doorway as they start to defuse. Pengu goes for one on the Young. Can he go the second?
Min, what are you doing? What just happened? Why are you sprinting, Bio?
Hungry. He gets the angry.
Oh, he's like are you ready for this?
Oh!
Pengu, are you kidding me?
Why am I so much better than you? God damn!
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys have had a good break. Yeah, the three of us definitely needed a break and we got a break. And we're back with more SiegeGG Live. Welcome back, Hunter. Welcome back, David. How's it been?
What is a break?
What is a
Not
transfer
something-
window?
Not something I recall.
Yeah. Well, things have happened. Lots of things have happened in the wake of Stage 1, in the wake of the Charlotte Major. Not as many things as happened, before with between SI and Stage 1, but enough things have happened, and we've got a good Stage 2 preview that we want to come up with and we want to talk to you guys about. And, we can start with, I guess, a couple of the big pieces of news. Operation Vector Glare, it got delayed. It has just dropped on PC like half an hour ago. The maintenance started. It's also rolling out on the other platforms. Sense and Azami are both going to be in play from this stage onwards. Operator quarantine has been removed, which is, I think, really crazy because in particular, Azami, I think, we're going to see a lot of crazy rat angles brought up by so many players. Particularly, I'm thinking, obviously the standard rat player, you have Laxing, and you have all the weirdos in APAC who will do very weird things with Azami that probably won't work internationally. But yeah, is there any other big news that I'm missing?
Not really.
Not that I can recall. I mean, I personally think the biggest
Luminosity's
news of
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
NAL comes back tonight, but I would
Mhm.
like to focus on APAC first.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like there's a big piece
Big
of news
things.
out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they shuttered APAC Playoffs.
Yep.
Which of course made everyone mad, which I don't know what you expected when you complain about the format of APAC Playoffs. You complain about how it's so deeply uncompetitive. You complain about all of that, and now APAC gets shuttered even worse. This was always going to be the other outcome. Was the juice worth the squeeze?
I guess the hope was that they would finally pony up for a LAN, which of course they didn't.
They're not going to. These things do not get organized overnight. I really do not think that it was smart to bank on Ubisoft and ESL getting a LAN of that caliber together so quickly, especially with the ever-changing people that could qualify. You got to find a venue, you got to find a host country, you got to make sure it's a place that you can be certain that in a couple months will let you in because of COVID regulations.
Especially in APAC.
Yeah, I do not think it was wise to think that anything other than this was going to happen. If it was so deeply uncompetitive, this is the correct response.
We talked about
in lieu of a LAN.
We talked about this specifically.
Yeah.
I very distinctly remember, Hunter, you and I, we were talking about potential changes. I don't know if it was on this podcast or on the second entry, but we said basically there's two solutions. Either you give top 2 direct berths to the major, which has happened, or you give a LAN. And LAN is just, as for the reasons that you have said, it is a pipe dream in practice. It's not impossible, but
no, it isn't. And LAN is obvious. When we talk about LAN in this aspect, for APAC playoffs, it's the silver bullet. It kills all. It kills all arguments. It is obviously the best choice. I would also wager that a lot of the people that are baying and weeping for an APAC LAN do not understand the logistical hurdles that need to be overcome in organizing something so last minute on the budget that APAC is currently run on. if that makes
Which
sense.
is
Like
probably a shoestring budget anyway.
something like the Six Invitational can be moved in a month with the willpower and working and
Yeah.
forcing all those meetings. Something like APAC Playoffs cannot. Beyond all that, I don't know. It's very much a case of, was the juice worth the squeeze? Like, did this was the outcome? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's perfectly fine. Obviously, like, it's not great for APAC,
Yeah.
but nothing ever is.
It's just not great. I don't think it's great, but it's the only option you have,
It's better.
realistically talking.
I think
Yeah,
in
it is
some ways
better.
it's better, but like I think organizations wise, I mean, this kind of a mid-season shift, there is obviously like less visibility for the organizations who will not be making it to the major because now it's top 2 instead of top 4, kind of gets signal boosted. But I don't know how much of an impact really that would be. Personally, you know, having thought about it a little bit, my initial reaction was it's a positive thing. It's better than stage 1. I think it's still better. There is obviously the step back, I guess, for like the organizations who will not make it, and the fact that there is, I think, a reduction in SI points because,
That's bad. That's
yeah,
that's the
There's
bad
this.
part. That's the
What?
bad
I was
part.
thinking of it
Yeah.
now, but
There's a
yeah,
reduction in
Really?
SI points. That's the bad
yeah.
part.
And someone tried to argue like, oh look, you go to a major, you'll get 50 anyway, but so will literally every other team. Every other team will also earn 50 minimum by going to the major. So it's kind of a moot point to say like, oh yeah, APAC still has the same points. No, APAC has an
No.
SI point reduction.
do teams that
Haver, I
do
think,
not
said realistically we might see no APAC teams. Like there's a possibility. Aside from like the qual, yeah.
That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
APAC haters anonymous.
That's
do,
a joke.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
do,
David.
do teams that do not qualify get SI points, like the third place team, or
Yes.
okay, yeah,
but
I'm
it's
just checking.
reduced.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's
Okay.
reduced. It goes like 215 for the top team
I
now.
have it right here.
Yeah,
I
there
have
you
it
go.
right here. 215 for
Yeah.
first and second placed teams. Then third gets 205, and fourth gets 145.
Yeah. So obviously that is a reduction. It started, I think, what was in stage 1, it was like a fair bit higher for just making it to the playoffs. Let me just pull up the
Is it a
numbers.
reduction or just the numbers changes?
I think it is. So in stage 1, top 5 at the APAC playoffs got 225 SI points. 6th got 180. 7th got 140. 8th got 115. Now, if you're not in the top 4 or top 2 of like your region, aka top 4 in APAC, by this format, you are getting nothing. You're getting basically nothing compared to 115 minimum, shooting up to 225. You just basically won 1 or 2 games in the playoffs.
Zooming out to take like a big picture look at this, and a big picture look at the past 2 years. At this point, I think it's a very safe bet to say that COVID hurt APAC the worst. Like by far and
As
away,
always,
it is.
as always.
It is not close. I think North America is like a second place there. I also don't think that's necessarily like debatable. There's a very clear hierarchy of what the pandemic did to each region, and APAC like undoubtedly is hurting the worst. Like this can all be traced back to like COVID sanctions, and APAC was looking good. I mean, coming into the pandemic, you had Fnatic, who had just made. I mean, look at just Fnatic.
Fnatic every time,
Specifically.
every single time at SI they've made playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Main stage, actually, not even just playoffs. Main stage.
And now for 2 years, they really haven't been able to get anything going. Like,
yeah,
it's just tough. It's tough for the APAC boys right now.
It is.
So the other big thing, from APAC, of course, is the fact that this has been eliminated means that the Korean teams don't have to play the Oceanic teams, which kind of screwed them over. And let me be clear. The Chiefs were disadvantaged all stage long, and they played on the same conditions as Damwon and Sandbox did, but Damwon and Sandbox got 1 day and 4 hours respectively off notice. All right, you can't
Yeah.
adjust your playstyle in that, much less weeks. You know, it takes you weeks to adapt. So that's what really screwed them over, the lack of communication. So now,
at this point, anyone watching this show, we've beaten that topic into the mud. Like, but both teams were disadvantaged. It's a bad situation all around. If you're ascribing blame to anyone, you're a moron.
Correct.
There it is in 15 seconds.
Indeed. So the good news for the Koreans is they basically are through except for CAG. CAG is the only team that can kind of upset Damwon and Sandbox number 1 and 2 in APAC North, and I really don't see anyone else with the changes that come in, even for Spear Gaming or Talons. Talons changes absolutely baffled me, by the way. They were 1 round away and they're like, we are going to change 2 players.
That's really
confusing.
Yeah.
But Sandbox upgraded straight. They are full strength. They have a coach, a second coach, I think, as well. They have Arukaze, who was one of the highlights on T1. They also have Good Boy. He's really finding his groove. He was pretty good towards the tail end of Stage 1. He only played a couple of games, of course. But I think Sandbox are looking very good. CAG, on the other hand, damn, they like, I don't know what, I don't know what's happening with them. They were in the US like 12 hours before their Japan League, playoff game. I do not understand. They landed 3 hours before they lost. They lost the grand final to Scars, 3-0. Scars is a tier 2 team. So at this point, I'm wondering, like, what is happening with CAG? Are they burnt out? They're the only ones who like didn't consolidate their roster. They actually lost part of it. Hybrid departed, their analyst, and they didn't add anyone else. The playing roster is the exact same. I see Sandbox making improvements. I see Damwon also making improvements, despite the fact that, arguably they didn't really, they kind of got screwed over in Stage 1. So the question is, what has CAG done to improve? And I don't see anything on paper.
Yeah, I guess we'll figure it out from our perspective as a mostly English-speaking publication. Like, let's be very, very honest. Losing Hybrid hurts us because he was CAG's only like extremely good English speaker. Like everyone else, kind of struggles with the language. We lose our connection to a pretty good team. That hurts us. It remains to be seen on how effective those changes are in the server. Hybrid did have some like frustrations. Like he said, they very clearly needed a mental health coach, which they just didn't want to get for some reason.
Mental health does not exist in Asia.
Sure.
Yeah, it's true.
It remains to be seen whether these changes are good for that team or not, but I think we're also a little bit biased in saying that it is like a bad thing overall, because I mean we are losing a connection to a perennial
that's
playoff
true.
team, a guy we talk to a lot, a guy we think a lot of, but at the same time, like, you can replace a
analyst. You can replace an analyst.
But also, no, you can replace a fan favorite, a beloved person who you think is smart, and immediately improve a team. Look at Easily.
They didn't replace him, though. That's the thing.
But still, like, I mean, sometimes a minus is a plus for some people. Like, look at Easily with Astralis. Like, I think the world of Easily. He's sharp as attack, funny guy. I've loved talking to him every single time I've got the chance to. Him moving away from Astralis and Call Out moving in benefited that team in incredible ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just not the right fit. And maybe Hybrid wasn't the right fit. Maybe it's in multiple ways. Maybe it's not just in, like, from a mental health aspect.
CH has always been domestically very strong. But the thing is, even as strong as they've been, I see them placing 3rd at best, which is a non-major position now. Sandbox, in my opinion, they've got PJH. PJH has literally, he turned from like a caster into a player to prove a point. He proved that point, and he was coaching T1 at the same time, and now he's coaching Damwon. I think Damwon has improved. Damwon's quality is known. Sandbox also have improved. And then, like, I kind of think, can CAG beat them? Potentially. But I don't see the two of them kind of dropping the ball this stage. But, we'll see. Down south, I guess, really not much happened down south in this transfer window. Barely anyone made a change.
Overall, this was a dull transfer window.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
let's just throw that out there right now. It was
Mhm.
a very, very dull transfer window.
Yep,
Yeah.
agreed.
So Fury made the biggest changes. I think the most interesting changes. They were 0-0-0-7, the literal opposite of Direwolves, who are 7-0-0-0. 0 points for Fury. So they dropped Producer Boom, their longtime captain in IGL. They dropped Mopi, their sub/6th player, and they brought in BG Man and Napew. These guys obviously familiar to everyone. They played in a couple of. They played, I think, in SI, or at least in APAC South, at least. Napew played in SI for sure. And they obviously have some pedigree alongside with them. They are very good gunners. Fury, they're probably going to get a couple of points. Is this going to elevate them into like a, pardon the pun, into a challenging position for the major? I don't think so, because we still have Direwolves up there. We still have Chiefs who also went to the major, who have taken so much away from that major.
Chiefs played very, very well in Charlotte. Like, we dogged on them a lot. If they had converted more of their entries, they'd have been in a better position. That was a team that went toe to toe with some of the best in the world. You could argue that like Chiefs kind of did like luck into that situation. Man, they went blow for blow with a lot of very, very, very good teams. They peeled substantial, difficult rounds off. Like Ethan in particular, from an individual standpoint,
nuts,
he's crazy.
Incredible.
He's crazy. Really good tournament.
Worthy looked very
really good
as well.
tournament from Chiefs.
Yeah.
They had 2 debutantes, and the rest of them were basically only having their second ever LAN. It was third for Ethan, I think. So it's barely anything. So
Sorry, I had to pull more copy.
yeah.
Also, how do you fight a guy called Bouncing Balls? You can't do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
He's in your head before you even turn on your computer.
Yeah, indeed. But yes, APAC South, really not much more to say. You got to look at the IG Super Team. Can they really do kind of what G2 did? aka qualify for a major this time out? Where can Fury end up with the changes? And what are the Charlotte major teams going to have learned from the major itself? And then, where they're going to be placing. Elevate also going to have a point to prove for, because they didn't get to actually make it. But that's enough about APAC. We've talked long about APAC, even though there was a fair bit to talk about. You want to start with EU, David?
EU.
Yes.
It's in a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't start this week. I can't wait to see G2 roster after the Charlotte Major. It's gonna be interesting if they have fixed like the issues, some of the issues they had, and like if they have already adapted to each one of the playstyles. It was very difficult. Like, it's a super roster. Everyone came from one team. It was like difficult to expect a lot from them in the first stage. So second stage is gonna be interesting. But I think that Wolves is going to be like, we could see like the team of the stage here. I don't know why. I feel like now with an organization behind them, with like a team backing.
Stability.
Yes, exactly. Stability. They can actually reach something else, Although we are not used to see like this roster performing at like important moments, especially at international events. But it's like, I think that with Wolves that could change. And Team Secret, I'm really excited for Savage, especially.
Interesting.
He's really good Portuguese player making it to European League.
I'm infecting all of you with my Wolves hype. I've been high on this team since Sweden.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I know.
He has. He
I know.
actually has.
Yeah, I know. And M&M Gaming too. Like M&M Gaming last stage, they could have reached the Charlotte Major, but they lost to Pounds and to Team Secret.
Yeah, they had a really tough end to the stage. Like, they just dropped.
Yeah.
Like, those losses meant M&M Gaming could have, like, if they actually won against Pounds and Team Secret, which I think Pounds and Secret only won one game in the whole
Eminem.
stage. If well, I think that one of them 2 games because, like,
Okay.
obviously Team Secret
Right.
and
Yeah.
Pounds faced each other, but the other victories were against M&M Gaming. If M&M Gaming had won those 2 games, they would have finished in second place, which that's
Yeah.
like they come from Challenger League, and okay, they played the Six Invitational, but you know, again, they come from the Challenger League, and there are some things that you don't expect from a side like them, and they can like really impress someone on stage 2. But the question is, when does a Spoit play?
Yeah,
Yes. That is
yeah,
the
very
big
true.
one, isn't
That
it?
is that is the big question. Should we? I mean,
Yes.
that's the
Let's
that
let's
is the topic.
let's
That is
pop
the
that.
topic
Let's
in the
pop that
European League right
champagne.
now.
Spoit turned 18, waited a couple of months since April, and now he signed with Rogue replacing Rips, who a lot of people have been looking at Rips' statistics in Rogue's results, and they've been looking like, look, he's the weak link. What has Rips been doing on the team? And look, those people, for better or for worse, have kind of gotten their wish. Spoit is on the team, Rips is gone. What is happening now? What are we to expect from this Rogue?
What are we to expect? This stage, nothing. No, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna like. Nope. We gave Bolo a stage
That's true.
to get all situated. It took him 3 months, and then after that, TSM was rocking and rolling. Any conclusions that you can draw from Rogue's play right now, I would say are premature. I think that is a team that needs a little bit of time to gel. I mean, come on, dude. Spoit's a content creator. Like,
Yeah.
hmm
that
He's
doesn't mean he's
literally
bad at the.
the EU
That does not
Bolo
mean
a
that
few
does
yeah,
not mean
years.
he's
Yeah.
bad at the game. That does not mean he's bad at the game. That does not mean he will always be bad at the game. He needs time to unlearn some of those little habits that will get him killed in UL Pro matches, and he needs time to figure out which of the little tricks, which of the little peaks, will fit into the overall strategy that Meepy has drawn up for this team. Rogue has never been a bad team in EU. Spoit upgrades their firepower substantially.
Hmm.
I
uh,
love this move. I
I
yeah,
love it too.
I
yeah, I love
love
it.
this move. What is not to
Yeah,
love about it? Like,
I think it's a really
it's
interesting move.
aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah, it's just
Like,
what the stage
I
needed.
yeah,
Spicy.
exactly. It needs time. It needs time to allow it to work. It needs time to allow it to gel so that everyone can get in the right spots. But like in terms of a star power move, correct
This is
move.
it.
You get Spoit's army of ranked stars as fans.
Hmm.
Okay, sure. You get one of the best mechanical talents on the continent. Okay, just give it time. Just
Yeah.
give it time and don't expect to win EUL in one stage. Like, that's all that needs to happen.
Yeah.
We should be looking at Rogue in stage 3. You
And
gotta give it time.
there's something we should point out. I know that this is not against top flag teams. Well, they played against Heroic, but Rogue had the chance to play the Gamers Without Borders
Yeah.
uh, closed qualifiers. They played 3 best of 3s and 1 best of 5, which that is a really good experience for Spoit and for the team. Like, I think that, I don't know, just before like the stage, it can be like a good way to
Yeah.
learn, those things that you mentioned before, Hunter.
It's essentially a competitive tournament, but really without much on the line. People are
Yeah,
gunning for to win. People are pushing to win, and it's not a scrim. So you got the pressures that you come with a competitive game, but it's not so high, like straight up. This is EUL. This is the real deal. It's kind of like a taster.
yeah.
Yeah, I think interesting. I don't know what to expect from Secret, as you said. I'm not very familiar with Savage, but I
Can
think
we
they
throw a
have.
caveat in
Yep.
there? One of the knocks on Secret that I've heard from talking to people around Europe
Mm.
is that Secret as an organization and kind of to somewhat the same extent the roster weren't necessarily aggressive in pursuing the best players available, and weren't necessarily like aggressive in terms of like pursuing what would make them a good team and what would make them upgrades. And by aggressive, I mean sometimes like complacency may or may not have taken over in some aspects. Like maybe Secret didn't want to spend to go get a good player with a buyout. This is an aggressive move from Secret, and whether it works out or not, I like it. Like this is the kind of move that you make when you're actively your roster. Saves is a good player, reunites him with Kendrew. Savage on it. I little to nothing. David's excited, which means we probably should be a little bit excited.
Yeah.
Look at that. Like we should sit up and take notice of this team. All that being said, like at the very least, they're making moves, right? Like they split the Slevin and Gomfi duo up for this. Like it's very, very clear that they want to win. It's very like that's what these moves say to me. Like they are not complacent. And for a long time, that was, for better or worse, kind of the perception of Team Secret, that they were just kind of like
talked
happy
about
not being
it
relegated.
as well.
Like
Yeah.
they wanted to stick together after one of the worst European
Yeah.
years of all
Yeah.
time. And they opted to stick together. Now they're not. It's the right move. I just wish they would have made it 3 months earlier.
Yeah, and I honestly get excited because I love seeing tier 2 players making it to the European League. That's something that I love, honestly.
Fresh talent
And
is very exciting.
yeah. Skiddy making to Navi.
Oh yeah.
Savage, especially because he's Portuguese, and you know, you
Yeah.
never see Portuguese players in European League,
true.
which is
Is he one of the
great, and you
first?
see variety. Yes, Saves is
Rafinha is going to
back.
be all over that. Rafinha, new favorite
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
I-
The
i-
Savage
is-
against Thunder game is going to be interesting, honestly.
Wow. Okay. So I think Savage is the first tier 1 player because I click
He
on
might be.
Yeah,
category
yeah,
Portugal on Wikipedia. Nothing.
yeah,
That page does
yeah,
not exist. Category Portugal does not exist. There's not been
yeah.
Portuguese orgs, teams,
You
players. This guy's the first.
no, like the most notable player from Portugal, I would say, is Nubai. Nubai
yeah.
played in Spain. He has won Spain Nationals, I think, once, and he played for Rebels Gaming. But he has recently got like retired. He was really good in FPL, but I mean, yeah. But Savage is the only Portuguese player to ever make it to the top flight.
Interesting.
Wow. Very, very cool. Now,
Is it time? Because I do have one thing to say.
yeah.
It's time for the G2 apology tour.
Oh yeah.
G2 performed very well at the Charlotte Major.
Sorry,
They're very
I gotta stop you. I don't need to apologize. I believe.
you don't.
I
David
believe.
and I do.
I believe.
We had healthy, reasonable G2 skepticism.
Yeah.
They blew my expectations out of the water. We talked to Prano at the Major. Like Prano said, like making it to the playoffs is obviously a good benchmark. It's not where we want to be, but for 2 to 3 months, and with this team, we'll take it. More or less, that's paraphrased. They did it. They nailed all their expectations. Props to them. They're going to keep on getting better. And
Yeah.
the fact that they can make the quarterfinals of a major with like 2
A brand
months
new
of
team,
practice, like the Spoit news is big, right? And I think we're all high on Wolves. We think Wolves played well, and they're going to be elevated with a team behind them or an organization behind them. I think we're really overlooking G2. I think we really are overlooking them. Like they did everything they said they were going to do. They delivered.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs. 2 months now. We were all looking at this stage, this upcoming stage is the one where like, okay, like now we're going to really start to see like what this G2 team is capable of beyond all the hype and bluster. They look good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They're terrifying.
Yep.
The EU team
Yeah.
should be scared.
Yeah. And the funniest
Someone
thing, I
played
think, and I think the most interesting and most positive sign was when, who was it? LML lost them that 8-7 game. Who was it
Yeah,
against?
again
Dark
in
Zero,
Oregon.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they
Okay.
laughed about it, like they were joking about it instantly. No bad blood, no like issues, no like moping about like, oh damn, we could have won this game, we could have had 2 points, we only got one, etc., etc. They were like, look, they're taking it easy, they're taking it chill, and they are looking very much united as a team. I talked to Virtue
Mhm.
at the player hotel as well while he was on a break, and he basically kind of said that, look, this is looking very, very chill. Like, and I've enjoyed playing Siege with this team after a long time,
You
which
do not
is
have to be a
yeah,
serious person banging on the desk and screaming and insulting people to
Yeah.
take Siege seriously
yeah,
and to be competitive. You do not. Period. End of story. That's it. Also, to address the chat, they did outperform. They did outperform because the expectation going in for this team was that they would get knocked out in groups. Sure, W7M was hobbled, but at the same time, the way that they played, it was good. They overperformed every single expectation of them outside of the most homer, like, oh, an EU team's going to win everything. You
yeah.
know who was the most picked team to make it out of that group from the European League? It was Heroic.
Yep.
Heroic
And
are the
They
ones
got
that
they
completely
got
fell flat. Yeah, we
they
should
got
talk
shit on
about them.
they got shit on by Liquid in their first
Yeah.
best of 3 together as a team. Oh no, that's the worst thing in the world.
Also, it
Like
wasn't that
lots of
like
very good teams get shit on by Liquid in a best of 3.
it was not that like far apart as well. Like the maps, like they looked competitive. Even though it was an 0-2 loss, I
What was
remember
the
watching
score?
yeah, I'm pulling it
I
up. Look, it was 7-4, 8-6. Come on. Okay, look, 8-6 against
7-4-8-6
on
is not
Clubhouse.
bad.
Yeah,
That's not bad
7-4,
at
8-6
all.
is fine. Like I distinctly remember thinking like, okay, this is probably, they might peel off a map. They're going to lose eventually. They might not, whatever. But they look fine. I think again, so good. But yeah, I think let's cap off EU by talking about Heroic. Um, Dealt
Heroic disappointed
obviously,
me. Can we
yeah.
say it? Is that okay to say? Like
Oh, very
Heroic
much
disappointed
so.
me.
Very
Heroic
much.
disappointed me a little. I'm very high
Yeah.
on that team. I still think they're pretty good. But like when we talk about the one change that makes a team better, it really seemed like a lot of their old problems really came out. And given like they had all the travel issues and all of that, like dude, sure, man, I guess it affects you. Great teams overcome adversity. Good teams drown in it. Period.
Heroic.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I don't care what happens to you. Great teams maintain their great teams maintain their mental toughness. Period.
Mhm.
And Heroic's not a great team yet. Could they mean the future? Sure. I think it's possible. They're a good team right now, but I
it
think their
it
reaction to that
was
entire situation showed that they were not a great team.
it was a great experience, first experience in an international tournament, and that's it. They will be better in the second one if there is a second one, of course.
Yep.
Yeah. They should be fine in stage 2, I think, domestically. Long as they're mentally reset, which is a big if. For
Mhm.
like for how they fell flat at Charlotte. If they reset, I think they'll be fine domestically. If they don't, which is very possible, not likely, but it's very possible. Then they will be out of the running because Eminem's coming for them, Rogue's coming for them, Wolves obviously already there, G2's improving, etc., etc. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's EU. David, you want to save the best for last, or with NA, or you want to start with Brazil first?
I'm fine with Brazil
BR6?
now,
All right, let's go
but
with
Go
Brazil.
depends
Brazil.
on
Let's go
Thunder.
Brazil.
Okay.
Let's go Brazil.
We have Brazil this weekend, and it really I love this competition. Um, we haven't seen like usually Brazil's transfer market is like
Wild.
crazy, yeah, wild.
Yeah.
What was it not? It was just all centered on one team.
It was there was just one transfer move in
That was
terms of players.
big. Yeah.
In fact, uh, coaches like coaches moves were like the most important thing. But Ninjas in Pajamas they, parted ways with Julio, which is possibly If we
That's
exclude
crazy.
Spoit from the conversation, it's like the most important move of the stage. And they are signing
No, I
Wizard.
think even with Spoit, the man's an
Yeah,
SI winner,
yeah. Uh,
a recent
and
SI.
yeah, exactly. It's their first transfer move since 2019. So
Which was
that's
basically
that's
minus
a
Pino
lot.
plus Pino.
Yeah,
That was the last move that they made before this one.
yeah. And yeah, they have signed a tier 2 player, which is called Wizard, and he plays well. He played for Escolinha do Bubu. Sorry for my pronunciation. I don't. Uh, well, it's not good, but he played for Bubu's school in
Yeah.
English, and he did really well. The team did really well. They actually have defeated top flight teams, including Zero Zero Nation, Fury Sports, and Team One. Recently, they have like competed in Copa do Brasil, and they are used to playing against important teams in the country. They are dominating the second tier, so they are going to be in the Challenger League. So yeah, Wizard is a good replacement. We are already used to see players signing tier two. Team signing tier two players in Brazil. We have seen it in Team One, W7M, and yeah, NIP was the next in line. Other than that, that's the only player. In terms of like that was the only move. But there are like Fury Sports has changed Twister. Twister is not working with
Yeah.
Fury anymore. That's pretty big, honestly,
Big
because we
surprise.
know that
Yeah.
Twister has worked with FaZe Clan, has worked with
NIP.
Black Dragons, I think.
Yeah. Season 6 when they got to the grand
Yeah,
final.
yep, yep. Um, and he's now going to Alpha Team. He's working as an assistant coach,
Consultant,
and
really. Like
yep,
a mentor.
yeah, something like that. Just a
3 days a week.
part-time
Yeah.
thing. Yep. Um, and we also have Dark joining MIBR. He's leaving FaZe
Yeah.
Clan and he's taking Guille's spot. Guille is MIBR manager.
Yeah.
And Dark was FaZe Clan's analyst, and now he's becoming MIBR's coach, which is like an upgrade.
Good
But
for him getting
I
stability.
think,
Yeah.
sorry,
I said good for him getting stability.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Dark is a really good, analyst and coach.
Major
And
champion.
yeah, I mean, FaZe Clan missed out on the last year's August Major. They didn't like play, uh, and they needed like an analyst. They have said it multiple times. And Ramalho, who is FaZe Clan's coach,
Hmm.
went for Dark, who was Nueve Zeta, which is a was South American team. So like signing a coach from South America says a lot. Like you usually go for a Brazilian coach who's already working in Brazil, not someone from another country. And Dark was a really good addition because 2 months later they won the Sweden major, and they also finished among the best four teams in the Six Invitational. So I think that this is a very very good move for MIBR. They can like they have a really good shot now at qualifying. Um, Other than that, they haven't made signings, but the winners of this stage for me, like transfer market, are Team One and W7M Esports. Because when a big club like Ninjas in Pyjamas
Oh
loses a
yeah.
player,
Yeah.
these are like the main targets, and we all know it. Like Rafinha
Oh,
said it.
yeah. Rafinha reported.
Kaze was one of the objectives, like one of the targets, and
Mhm.
it didn't work out.
That's it, and that's like
Uh,
huge for
and we'll see
W7M.
like
It's
W7M and
huge.
Team One. Yeah, exactly. They are the winners of the of the transfer market, honestly, because they are not going to they are going to be able to continue with their um, you know their roster is going to be like the same. They will have a second shot to prove like they are here to stay. It was not a Mirage stage one, so
Yeah.
we will have these teams that have already proved themselves. We have Ninjas in Pyjamas who's working their way up again. Face Clan, Team Liquid, Zero Zero Nation who are finally playing from their. Well, it's. Oh, we are missing out on something. I forgot. Brazil is going to be a LAN league.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yes.
We're
big.
missing out.
We
We
talked
forgot about
about
this.
this
We
somewhere.
haven't. No,
Time
we
to
haven't.
expose all the onliner LaFrauds.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'll see what happens now, but I think that I don't know. Zero Zero Nation is gonna be. They won the Copa do Brasil
Hmm.
against Ninjas in Pyjamas just before Julio's departure. Um, but I'm well aware that Ninjas in Pyjamas have been like fixing some of their problems. So they are getting there. And we'll see also Black Dragons and all these. This is the best league, honestly, in my opinion. This is the best league.
No bias
And it's
there.
going to be LAN, so I mean,
Yeah.
you can ask for more. I mean, it's gonna be insane. And
Jeez.
Brazilian teams facing each other in a LAN environment.
Is there gonna be a crowd?
Well,
There's gonna be a lot of
well, the last time Brazilian teams faced each other in a LAN environment, one of the coaches was suspended for 12 months for violating the player rulebook.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
They will have to be careful because
Boo Boo
yeah,
School
that
can learn
the
something from that, huh?
the words used by Bodega are, for what I know, they are pretty
Not great.
used in
It was bad.
Brazil.
It was
They're
bad.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was bad, but they use these words a lot, for what I understand, for what I've been
Yeah,
told.
but that's like, a bank robber breaking into
I know, I
breaking
agree.
into a bank and being like, "Well, I do this all the time, man."
I
Like,
agree. I agree. No, no, no,
what
no,
do
no.
you
I
mean?
agree. I
Yeah,
agree. I
That
agree.
guy's robbing the bank too.
yeah, yeah.
I agree. But having Bodega's experience, would it be fair that he gets banned but
For
others
12
don't?
months? No. For 12 months, absolutely not. The My perception of Bodega's ban was not necessarily that he was shouting that on a one-off. It's that he was shouting all that stuff, was asked to stop and did not. Which I
Yeah.
think, I mean, you can see it on the broadcast. Like, someone's going over and talking to him multiple times. We also do need to remember this was the incident in question was the second time Liquid played Xset. We're talking about Brazil, though, but that situation was just
That was
another.
one hell of a first day
What a
of the playoffs.
nightmare!
It was
What a
very
nightmare this
funny.
major was. Can
It was
we?
crazy. You know what happened, guys? Like we get to the venue, right, and we are just like getting our COVID test done. Hunter, me, and Heather and Caliber Jacob. And this guy, Hunter, is like there first. He's gotten our passes, and he's like quietly sitting in the corner. He's like, "I'm positive," and I'm like, "What?" And I take out my phone to like message people, and I see Twitter exploding. Bodega's been suspended for 1 year, and I'm like, "What I do? What's happening here? What I do?" Yeah, it was
Oh my god.
wild. A wild start to
Yeah,
the playoffs.
COVID is bad. COVID is bad.
Right. Damn. But yeah, I think Brazil and LAN. I'm not sure. Is there going to be a crowd, David?
No, I don't think so.
Right. When there will be a crowd, then I guess, because I'm sure they'll be working towards that. Brazilian
Uh,
crowds. They
I
love their
Surely, surely.
crowds. They love their events with
yeah.
crowds. BR6 before it became like the top flight league for Brazil had crowds at their playoffs. I distinctly remember 2019 it had like an amazing crowd, truly
Yeah.
bonkers, wonderful stuff. So they're going to be working towards that, and I
We
cannot wait for that personally.
we're talking of a country that like Brazil's last year, well, like last year, Rainbow Six Siege was chosen as the best game in Brazil.
Hmm.
There is a big community there, so a crowd is needed. Is really needed.
Yeah.
I really hope it's soon. In fact, last year's Brasileirão final against NIP and Team Liquid had a crowd, so we could see one soon, like for stage 3 maybe. Maybe they are going to test things during the stage 2, and
Maybe the
maybe
BR6 playoffs. We might see one.
maybe we could
Stage
see,
2.
but this is just
Fingers crossed.
speculation.
Right.
Maybe, honestly, maybe, but I
Well,
hope we get like we see some crowd soon. I mean,
should be
why
good.
not? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how W7M gets on as well on
Hmm.
LAN. But I think
Yep.
that's enough about one LAN league. Let's
Yes.
jump to the final league and the other LAN league in the business. And already an Austin FC fan is rubbing his hands and getting ready.
What do we want to talk about first? Do we want to talk about the transfer window? Do we want to? There's a lot to talk about in America, and I'm not just saying that as an NA resident
Yeah,
and
yeah.
NA Central person. Like, there's so much to talk about, dude. Um,
Who's
Be
the
my guest.
transfer?
I like go wherever you think.
I mean, to start, like, Canadian is now in the greatest of all time conversation.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
He has to
I
be.
agree.
Three
I
major
agree.
titles, three separate
With
teams.
3 different teams, yeah.
Like, you have to be at that point.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
G2 dynasty as a team will never be like,
Mhm.
you can't take anything away from that. Like, that will be forever the best team of all time. But I think Canadian is up there with Pingu as the greatest
Yeah,
player of
even
all time.
even even
It's neck
the
and neck.
best
He
team of
wins
all
one more
time.
title.
Yeah,
He
he's
wins
done.
one
He's
more
clear.
title, then it's over. If he wins one more title with Dark
Yeah.
Zero, like, he is the best
I
player of all time.
I honestly have been converted because I think that NA is a Mickey Mouse competition, but I think that Canadian is not a Mickey Mouse player. And
Yeah.
honestly, like here
Sorry,
in Europe,
comedian.
we have the Cristiano Ronaldo against Messi discussion.
Yeah, that's what it is
We have
basically.
like on one side we have Messi who like has won everything in football,
Yeah,
but he has won it for Barca only, while Cristiano has been winning trophies
and a
for
bunch of teams,
United, Juventus, yeah, a bunch of teams. Uh,
and he's won
what
everything
is
as well,
better? What is
except the World
better?
Cup, which
Yeah,
Messi hasn't either.
yeah. What is better? Like achieving international honors or whatever you want to call it with multiple teams or doing it with one. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. I think that Canadians
Yeah, no,
has done
you're coming
something
loud and
really,
clear.
really, really, really difficult to do.
In
Honestly,
in
like
esports, it's it's winning multiple teams it's winning multiple titles with rosters,
yeah,
especially over the time frame of 6 years. He won his
His
first title in
longevity is insane,
2017, like February
insane.
2017. He lifted the
yep,
hammer.
Yeah,
Won one in 2020. Won one in 2022. Like,
yeah,
he's the grizzled old vet. Like,
yeah.
he had his injection into that Dark Zero roster after 3 months was like, I mean, what else do
I
you
said
call it?
it. Like I told here, like Hunter. I don't know if David was there. I was saying like this feels like Dark Zero. Like I looked at the timeline every time 3 to 6 months after Canadian joins the team, they're
Yeah.
there, they're winning, and I told you, and I said Dark Zero is going to make a good deep run. There's nothing that stops them from getting to the final.
I mean,
They get to the final and they win it.
My NAL sourcing was also like very high on Dark,
Yeah,
which surprised the shit out of me
yeah.
because they needed to win and get in, but apparently they had just been like ripping it up. It very very weird, not weird, like huge scenario for like Canadian, but just I thought it was so strange coming in. Like, obviously you gotta. I think you have to respect someone's IGL capabilities. Like, we have the
Yeah.
same conversation about Super. We
Hmm.
have the
Hmm.
same conversation about Uno. Like, the statistics obviously like are balanced out by the leadership and the
Yeah.
mid-round calling that they bring It's
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you're
That's-
getting titles delivered,
Yeah.
who cares what your stats are?
Yep. Moving on from that, let's talk about the transfer window,
Mhm.
which was a
Yeah.
Very interesting.
weird one.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, because I covered this transfer window from quarantine, so I had nothing to do but talk to people. I talked to a lot of people. I think the big one that everyone kind of will hone in on is Mirage.
Yeah.
Because it was like
Drama.
so baffling and
Yeah.
well, baffling and to some extent and like dramatic, yes. Based on my understanding of people that I have talked to, the understanding of people that I've talked to, and some of the public stuff that's out there, what essentially happened is, I mean, you have an NA major, you have everyone together, all in one place. Bunch of players are there, they're all meeting fans, like good for them, all that stuff. What the thing that I had heard was that let me actually pull up the Wikipedia or the SiegeGG, I should say. So I'm not like losing my mind here. But CGG doesn't show former players. Just a Wikipedia. Okay. Basically, I need the former players thing.
For
All right.
Mirage? Yeah.
So Razor was going to be dropped for a while, which again, like their Razor was bought out from Xset, which if you're Xset, you probably have him for a decent change. That was probably a very expensive move. I would contend that a one Razor buyout is probably worth 3 months of a normal Mirage player's salary based on some rumblings that I've heard. That was
Razor's
that was
buyout is that much?
that was a pretty expensive move for them.
Yeah.
And then they drop him after
One
2 or 3
stage.
months.
Yeah.
Rumblings of attitude, like sure, okay. So he's gone. Then initially, Benji gone.
Sorry, you cut out. Benji?
Sorry, Benji was supposed to be gone.
Mm.
A capital S. We talk about words having capitals all the time to emphasize them. A capital S something happened at the major. Someone had a conversation with someone. Someone talked to someone here. Someone talked to someone there. And instead of dropping Benji, they're dropping Tomas and they're bringing back Nyx, which, from a statistical standpoint, kind of makes sense. You could say that Mirage's attacks were better with Nyx, and attacking is super important in the current meta.
Mm-hmm. Was
It's
Rethink, yeah.
it's a but all the same, like bringing him back, bringing in Kento is a thing. I think they were looking at Kento. They tried out damn near half of Challenger League, based on what I've heard. Like they tried out so many damn people, and they actually pissed a lot of people off in the North American Challenger League because they took so long to decide. And then that close to the transfer window,
They changed their mind.
they changed their minds. Like they had already like uprooted teams. They had already made changes. They had already made pivots. And shattered some rosters, and then all of a sudden they're moving things around again. Like, I don't know. There's rumblings of beef between Mirage players. I think that's public and on the timeline. So the Twitter timeline that is, or on Reddit, like fair to talk about. Apparently, like Tomas and a couple of the players like really didn't like get along. Like
It's
what
that much clear, yeah.
what we can say about that, winning cures everything. I don't think this is a group of guys that are just kind of like, and gals with Marmalade, that are kind of like naturally at each other's throats. I think this is a situation where they weren't winning, and not winning will kill morale. It'll kill morale really, really fast, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty difficult to keep morale going when you're lucking into like this past stage and staring down the barrel of like potentially being relegated at the end of the stage or playing in a relegation game. Now, contrast that first stage that they just had with Mirage's stage 3. Mirage was 1 win away from making it to the Sweden Major. Stage 1 2021. Yeah. They were a top 4 team in North America with hot and cold.
Yeah.
Mirage was substantially better than a lot of other teams in the NAL over that time frame. I think that precipitous drop off from year to year definitely hurt morale a little bit. Now, this is I am casting aspersions into the wind and talking about the emotions of people that some of them I don't talk to. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. All that I know is they were not awful. They were not an awful North American League team. They, to some extent, were. And now they have this very weird scenario where a player that I've heard they paid quite a bit for is now not on the roster after 2 months. So now they're out all of that cash and they're shuffling people and bringing back in their worst statistical players. Again, we have no idea what's going on with that team, but the outside looking in, I think you have to look at this move and say, like, it's not
good.
No. It's what I would say it's uninspired. I would say, like, it's not necessarily forward thinking. What I'm about to say is really, really mean. It feels like this team is treading water.
Yeah,
it feels
you
like
do get
they're
that vibe, right?
It feels like they're lost at sea, and right now what they need to do is they need to keep their heads above. And it's going to be really difficult for them to plan for the future while the North American League is in the state that it is. Which, like, transferring this conversation to the rest of the North American League, this might be the best North American Siege has ever looked, and treading water might be, I don't know. Bottom up, NAL looks really good. I'm super excited about Gunner and Blas at Parabellum. Yes.
Yeah.
I think those are two
Parabellum
really solid
went
pickups.
ahead with that. Like, people were debating, is Blas even going to make it to the playing roster at this rate?
It was very, very smart. Personal take to move on from creators. I think creators needs a little bit of, he needs a little bit more time in the oven.
I think he needs credit too to understand, I guess, right? No, never mind. I'm confusing my C's.
Yeah, he I don't know. For whatever reason, he did not work out on Parabellum. He did not work out on Xset. He was a terror on Tempo, but Scrimpo. That is not a he needs a little bit more time, and he could probably come back. He definitely has, like, the mechanical talent, but at the same time, like, not really entirely sure. You have Sonic's, TSM, and Space Station that are looking to get back into that upper echelon of Siege that they were. You have the new teams like Astralis, Oxygen, Xset looking to maintain their current upwards momentum. This is the most competitive the North American League has ever been, and there are going to be no more gimme teams. Like, through the first couple stages, like, Sonics were a bit of a gimme team in international competitions. Like, they needed a little more. They, like a lot of other teams, needed a little bit more, to fully, like, get to that potential. They show what they can do at SI. There aren't going to be no more teams in the North American League like that. It's NAL.
Probably going to bounce back.
It's NAL and it's BR6. Like, these are the top 2 leagues. The top leagues and rank reside in the Americas. Period. It's not an arguable point, especially after Charlotte. I know Team 1 was hobbled. I know W7M was hobbled. Dark Zero, the major champions, beat every single first seed that made it to the event.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Heroic twice in the group stage, 2-0 victory. They beat Liquid. They beat Astralis. 3 number 1 seeds, 3 different regions. Elevate wasn't there. How do you argue with that?
They would have
That's the
smashed
fourth
LV.
seeded team.
They're
Like
not.
it's that's the fourth seeded team out of North America. Like, sure, Brazil probably could have done better. Like, I still think we haven't seen the last of W7M, but it's very hard to look at the results and not say that North America and Brazil are just kind of like head and
NA's number
shoulders above
one.
everyone.
NA's been number one since SI, like very clearly. And like the SI hangover, the burnout, I guess, that hit Sonics is probably gone by now. I don't know what
Same with
TSM.
TSM.
Yeah, TSM,
I
SSG.
expect TSM to like rip it up. Like,
Yeah.
and while this transfer window is relatively like quiet, this is complete and total speculation. A lot of these perennial power NA teams that missed out on a major, if they miss out on a second major,
They'll make
I
it.
think you see a very
Yeah.
exciting transfer window. I think you kind of have to
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Because the North American league teams, they don't play the Copa Elite Six. They don't play Nationals tournament. They play those 9 best of ones. And if you're a team that is used to getting the cash windfall that comes in from a major, you got to get back there by any means necessary. I think you start seeing some changes. Look at the longevity of these rosters. Sonics have been together for over a year. I think they're the least likely of the quote unquote like perennial powers to make a change if they don't make it. But like TSM
Yeah.
and Space Station, like how long have these two teams been together with no changes? I think if you
Not
start
that
seeing I think if you start seeing the results slip, I think you see them start to make moves.
Mm-hmm.
Again, speculation, throwing that into the wind. But I mean, if I'm a GM, that's what I do. I look at our results, and I start to take a very hard critical look at how we get back. Going to be a very intense stage. I think you're going to see a lot more intensity, mainly because I think there's a lot of people playing for their jobs.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Like aside from like Mirage, as you said, there's no like out and out weak team that like can't possibly push up. I guess the next class or tier of teams would be Beast Coast, Parabellum, but then you've got like
Even with
you've got 7 teams.
Mirage, even with Mirage, we saw them peel off. I'm trying to
Two
look for the
maps against
victories.
TSM. They beat TSM both times.
No.
Right?
Mirage beat TSM. And they beat Beast Coast, and their
Oh,
victory over
right,
Beast
yes,
Coast knocked
correct.
Beast Coast out of the major.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a shock.
Like, not a bad team. They are not resigned to losing every game. No
Yeah.
one is.
Parabellum also, they added, as you said, Gunnar, they also added like a support staff, second one, a Puerto Rican assistant coach. So big ups to the Puerto Rican community for getting some representation up here. But yeah, they are taking it seriously too. VBM is obviously doing good work all the way from India, and they're getting someone local as well, I guess, to kind of just back them up. I assume he's going to be standing behind the team.
Hopefully, they do have some presence. There was a little buzz about like, no, they could talk. No, like for the entire stage, Parabellum was not able to talk to their coach during timeouts. Period. Like
so I think
they were
Smita
cooked. Like they were done.
Smitasus is going to be behind them, and I think that'll be a good voice to have, or just be able to calm them down. And I expect Parabellum to step it up. I like this Parabellum roster. It's just worked out well despite the losses, and arguably they have upgraded with Blaz and Gunnar.
Both of them are very exciting young prospects. Like Astrala, the viewpoint I'm taking on Parabellum is where Astralis were last year, where they have a bunch of like young talent that needs time in the cooker. And when they fit everything together, they're going to be absolutely fine. Like, I don't have like the ages in front of me, right? I don't think there's a Parabellum player above the age of 20, which I think is an aberration among
That's
NAL
like
teams.
that's
I think
extremely-
Parabellum.
So
They're the youngest.
Eska is December 2000, Kool-Aid's March 2003, Penguins September 2002, Blaz is February 2001, and Gunnar is unknown.
But Gennard like just turned 18.
Just turned 80. Yeah, we
Like
just don't know.
he's 18 for sure. So Eska is
The oldest.
21, 22, and he's the
22.
oldest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
he'll be
that's an
22
aberration.
this year. He'll be 22 this year in December,
Yeah.
which is basically after the season's over. So
Yeah. So they're young.
Not
They need
super
time.
young.
yeah.
That's all I got for the North American League. Not really a bunch of like intel dump and like time tracing. It was a very dramatic like 2 days while
And then nothing,
the
yeah.
Mirage stuff, and then just like nothing, nothing happened other than the Luminosity move, which like I heard from so many people, and I didn't pull the trigger on because I just didn't believe it.
I
Like
mean,
it seemed like
it sounded like the
it seemed
Cloud9.
like another.
You have your
Yeah,
reasons,
it seemed like one of those rumors that's like floating around Challenger League. Like one off season, there was a rumor going around that some guy who owned a team called like Gorilla Gaming or like and was like an ex-FaZe Clan guy, like who was gonna start this new org and he was gonna do it in Siege, and they were gonna be the 10th NAL team. They were gonna take the #1 Challenger League team. And I looked this guy up on LinkedIn, and he was very clear, just like a weird grifting liar. Like 5 seconds of research, people. Like, and I don't know. It seemed like one of those rumors because again, like Luminosity.
Yeah,
just
LG
pulled
coming
out
back is just like, what?
Well, they just when
Pulled
you
out
look
a
at it
Valve.
pound for pound.
Yeah.
When you look at it pound for pound, right? Challenger League salaries are much lower, sure. Luminosity just pulled out of Valorant.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Lots of money.
I saw that.
Suddenly with them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of free capital open, but like again, I think the only angle that Luminosity really has with this roster is they got to be expecting that at least 2 or 3 of these guys are going to go to the NAL stage, and they're angling for a very, very high buy.
Yeah.
I think that's the smart thing to consider, or they are betting money that these guys like rip it
Get
up through the rest
promotion.
of Challenger League and play in the relegation game,
Mhm.
which, as has shown with Parabellum itself, is never really a sure bet. Because if you recall back to last year's like Challenger League, I realize I'm probably the only one here that pays attention to it. Parabellum did not necessarily have the best regular stage
they were
in Challenger
struggling.
League. They got
Post
beat
SI,
by
they were
which-
struggling. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
They
yeah.
did not. They kind of like fell ass backwards into Challenger League playoffs, fell ass backwards into the relegation, and then fell ass backwards into whipping XSET 3-0.
Yeah.
They did.
It was a very impressive game from them.
Yeah.
Good showing.
Well, that's all I got
Yeah.
from the North American League.
Do you guys want to do predictions for where teams are gonna place, or you want to just leave that?
We could, but it's
Hard to
a
say.
bit wild.
I mean,
yeah.
NAL starts tonight,
Yeah.
and EUL doesn't start until
Next week.
next
Next
Monday.
week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whatever we want to do, man. It's up to y'all. We can't play the
Alright.
stat game.
Yeah, we can't
We-
play the stat
we
game.
could
I was
take-
like thinking.
we
Let's
could
go with
shoot
the
the
stat
shit.
game.
Yeah.
I can start the clock and we can shoot the shit for 5 to 10 minutes, and we could take
Mhm.
viewer questions.
Yeah.
After that-
If
Want me to start the
the-
clock?
yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for like let's set it for 5 minutes, I guess. If there's anyone in chat who's got a couple of questions who want to raise some
Timer's going.
talking points as well, we've got like 6 minutes. So
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anyone's actually been paying
Yeah, we'll
attention.
see.
Yeah.
If they haven't, who cares? Then we shoot
Yeah.
the shit for 5 minutes and we go home.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Or we
We are al- we're
not go home,
already
we just
home.
turn off the computer.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about. Let's not put teams on fraud watch. Let's look at some teams that we think could be pretty good.
Pretty good.
not in our home regions either. So I'm taking. I
Okay.
mean, I'm taking a look at BR6 here,
Mhm.
Okay.
and I
Cool.
think this might be like this might be skewed by my image of this team specifically. I think the world of T-Chubs, and I think the world of the
Yeah.
players that he has, and I think Sexy Cake still has. I think he still got it a little bit. I think
Mhm.
00 Nation can make some moves.
Hmm. I honestly think that you're right, especially because the LAN experience some of these players have, that's gonna be important. And T-Chaps is like really, really, really good coach. And we have seen 00 Nation getting the results. They won the Copa of Brazil, so I think it's quite good to say that.
Yeah.
You're
I mean,
safe,
they,
yeah.
I mean, they very well could be. At the same time, like how we define success in Rainbow Six is like making it to a major. Like it's good for them, and they're doing very, very well. But like, I think they would need to make it to a major before we say like, yeah, it's a success.
Um,
David?
I'm gonna talk about uh, mm, Europe. Let's do Europe. Or should I
No,
take APAC? I'm
not
gonna
not.
take APAC.
All right, not
Sorry?
the home region. Not your home region.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take APAC, and I'm gonna say that Sandbox is going to improve and actually finish among the best too.
Mhm.
Um, I think that the adding another coach and the changes they have made can be interesting, and they can improve from there. I think they finished in 8th place of the playoffs during stage one. There were the pin complications and everything, but yeah, it was not the result they expected or no one expected. I think they are gonna improve a lot this stage, and well, that's my guess. Maybe Spear Gaming, but I'm not really that into APAC.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. I think Sandbox definitely there's just no one else who really kind of is looking to have that kind of firepower on their roster, that kind of completeness that they've lacked, and even without that completeness, they still made it to APAC playoffs, and they have lots of LAN experience behind them. Just they don't look like they'll get beaten by anyone except for Damwon in the state. So I think a very very good shout in that regard. I'm gonna go with Rogue. I think just the firepower upgrade kind of will be the push that Rogue needed and didn't get in stage one. Even in stage one, this was a roster that was working through a couple of kinks because they just signed Kanter, Akedi, and Deepak prior to stage one starting out. And they got really close, and they kind of identified, look, okay, we kind of fell short for a couple of reasons. Spoit's in, Rips is out. I think even though Spoit himself is not going to be setting the EUL alight from the get-go, he might. I don't think he will.
Mhm.
He might, but I think Rogue are going to be making a very, very heavy push for major positions, and I definitely think that they could make it. I can see Heroic being one of the teams that drops out from the top four to accommodate a team like Rogue. So, potentially, I think Rogue can sneak into top four, even top three, depending on just how well they start gelling.
Rogue is so funny because it feels like have y'all seen those memes where like you have $15 to build a quick team?
Yes,
It felt
yeah,
like
yeah,
someone rewound the clock back to 2019, and Rogue is one of those
Yeah, yeah,
teams
yeah, yeah.
where they spent like $10 on Kanto and
yeah,
Spoit, and then we're like, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna go in the market like
yeah,
for everyone else and get these like great players. Like, we'll get crying for $2. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really good comparison. I love this one.
It's kind of insulting to the homie Leon and Ryan, who
Yeah,
great guys, but like 2019, they weren't like necessarily the big names or as big of names as they are now. I don't know. And Kanto was huge. It just made me think of that. It's like someone's drawing out of a 2019,
Right.
like when Spoit was like 16 or 15 or
Yeah.
something.
We got a
It's
couple of
very
questions.
funny.
Yeah. We got a couple of questions. Thoughts on today's game? So I assume that is for the NAL. TSM starts off against Mirage, looking for some revenge potentially over there.
Potentially,
Uh,
hypothetically. The the two matches I'm looking forward to actually no, there are four very very good matches today. I think Dark Zero Beast Coast is a very underrated one. You
mm-hmm. V Curtain
have
Razor.
revivaling. Like yeah, this is that's always a good time. It's always a good show. They're always at each other's throats. We'll get to see how good TSM is coming off of a break finally.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to see how much Xhead is actually like improved. Like
Or
if you're
taken a hit without Bodega, because they admitted
yeah,
they got hit hard without Bodega at Charlotte.
like it's gonna be a difficult one. Astralis and Sonics, like these two teams have quite a bit of history. Like Iconic is the most visible member of Astralis. Like Super is the most visible member of Sonics. Like if you recall, a couple years ago, like Iconic was kind of like unceremoniously dumped, and then there was the that whole like they do not line up with the vision and ethos of the Sonics, and then it was a bunch of people who can't like read thought it was like, oh, they're accusing them of being unethical. It was like, nah, it just means they don't have the same like values right now. Like that can change. Like it's not bad situation, which dumb people ran with. Either way, last stage, this was the very first matchup of the NAL, and Astralis beat Sonics 7-1.
Mm-hmm.
Have Sonics rebounded? Have Space Station rebounded? Have Beast Coast rebounded? I think that's the story of today's games.
And TSM as well, yeah. The break. Yeah. Interesting. Couple other questions. What are our expectations of outsiders? Outsiders being former Virtus Pro, or like current Virtus Pro? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
David?
It's
What are your
gonna be
expectations?
tough. I cannot see them making it the top four. I mean, they are going to be there, but I see other teams with,
They almost snuck in last stage.
Yeah, I remember, but we have G2, who we talked about before,
BDS
and
as usual.
they are getting better and better. BTS as usual, they are always there. Rogue could be there, could
Wolves.
be like the flop of the stage maybe, depending on Spoit's adaptation, I guess.
Yeah.
We also have, well, I mean, Navi maybe is there.
Wolves, Heroic,
Wolves,
Eminem.
obviously,
Yeah.
Wolves. M&M, considering how the stage went, if they fix like their consistency issues, like, especially against bottom standing teams, they should be among the best four. It's definitely a difficult call. Call, but I don't see them there. They could, obviously, they have the chance, but who knows? The situation is not the greatest either.
There's a lot of teams who look better than them.
Yeah.
That's just it. They haven't improved as much. Any word in crowds from Debus? Any words in crowds for any games this stage? And the answer is no.
No word.
Yeah, I don't think there will be a crowd this entire
Doesn't
season.
mean it doesn't mean there won't. It don't mean it won't happen. Doesn't mean it will.
Yeah.
NAL finals, I would expect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, someone's asking for predictions. Lemoyne Pygmy. Top 4 for EUL.
I would say no specific order. I would say G2, BDS, Heroic, and Wolves. Yeah, I mean the same. Yeah, same. Pretty much the same. And I think that it can change depending on Rogue and M&M Gaming.
Right. Hunter?
G2, Heroic, Rogue, Wolves.
Yeah, I would agree.
Oh,
I would agree
yeah.
exactly. I would
Yeah.
agree. Actually, no, not with Heroic. I would say G2. BDS not being top 4 would be quite something, but I think BDS.
Yeah.
No, I think BDS still make it.
I like BDS a lot. I think they have shown some very real weaknesses.
Yes.
And I think their failure to capture a title or even go to a final is
It's getting to them.
Yeah.
it's finally starting to wear. And we talk to these guys like every major,
The
just
same thing.
about, and like there's some language barrier stuff, and sometimes what they say, like, they don't really, like, oh, we don't really care. Like, no, they just got their heads down, they're focusing, like, that's what they mean. We have to print what they say, but we all understand that's what they mean. The tone and the tenor has gotten more frustrated.
Yeah.
That's what that's what I'd say.
It
I
sounds
would
like
say,
a little bit defensive.
yeah, they appear more frustrated than they have been in the past. And I think that when you start to get frustrated, that is when your expectations start to shift. And that is when your tensions start to boil over.
Personally, I think Heroic are going to be the ones that are not going to mentally just be there. And I think they're going to take too much of hit early on, late on, at some point in the season, in the stage, and they're not going to be able to recover, which is why I think BDS is still going to be there alongside G2, Wolves, and my pick, Rogue.
Fair.
Yeah. What's the timer?
Good.
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we are done.
We are done. Thank you very much for everyone who has tuned in today for our Stage 2 preview. We will be back every Friday, as we have been in Stage 1, to bring you like the rundown of the week's play. This Friday, will be a shorter one because it's only going to be NA and APAC. Yeah. The weekend is when BR6 goes on, and then after that, next week is when EUL. Everything, all the information that we're saying is on our website. We have an NAL preview out. Go read up Hunter's good piece over there, talking about what to look forward to. We have an APAC North one as well. APAC South is coming, EUL's coming, BR6 previews are coming. All information is there on our website, stats are there. Go check it out. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a lovely night.